I think this is why all of these solutions, in inverted commas, seem so tempting, because what you've been trying to do doesn't make you feel better. Like eating less, it doesn't seem to be getting you anywhere on the scale. It makes you feel like rubbish. So maybe it is this magical potion that you need to fix it. So I thought it'd be quite fun to go through them and cut the BS on some of them.
Yeah.
So
I love this kind of stuff.
Yeah, this is the stuff that's all over social media at the moment. So first up, we've got this MCT oil.
Okay, so medium chain triglycerides. It is kind of touted as being a weight loss tool. It is...
That's wild. I've never heard oil be touted as a weight loss tool in my life.
Precisely. I think there's, 120 calories per tablespoon or something.
Yeah,
So,
in an oil there is, yeah.
and so, a lot of the people who are pushing this, they're selling it, are kind of, they're just saying, oh, chug it back. If you're feeling really tired, chug it back. You wake up and you're feeling really anxious, chug it back. It's kind of being sold as this cure-all in a sort of specific area of social media. But yeah, it's...
What's interesting, though, I find with all of this stuff is there's like a nugget of maybe that makes sense of like, you know what, if you're undernourished and you eat 120 extra calories and you have low energy, probably will feel a bit more energetic. But maybe drinking it in oil form isn't the best way to do that.
Well, yeah, I think, and also there are just better ways of doing it, right?
Yeah.
Much better ways of doing it that would fill you up more, potentially. You can get 120 calories from your avocado or from nuts and seeds.
And have some fibre as well, and like a physical volume.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to say that's BS.
Yeah, we are.
Okay. Mushroom adaptogen teas.
God, this is a tricky one because I don't feel like I probably know enough about it.
Sounds like psychedelics when you said that then.
Yeah.
That's quite trendy too.
It is, but, so it's not psychedelics, but it's being really pushed at this demographic, isn't it?
Yeah, adaptogens, which somehow manage your stress response. They seem to lower some stress, but I'm on the fence. I don't know enough about it, if I'm being honest.
I'm intrigued as to whether it's if you're swapping your caffeine for something that's not caffeine and you are anxious, caffeine doesn't help with anxiety. So it might even just be that.
Yeah, your mushroom adaptogen coffee is taking away, the palpitations and the anxiety.
Yeah.
Potentially, yeah.
So possibly BS.
I mean, I would say for lots of these things, there's not necessarily going to be a detrimental aspect to it, not all of them, but some of them, it's just likely to make a huge dent in your wallet.
Yeah, and not really get you anywhere.
Yeah.
I guess that's always a red flag, isn't it? Like if the person that you're seeing really rave on about it is also the person that sells it, that's kind of a red flag of like...
Yeah. Seed cycling?
Oh my God. So I've just done a post on this and got all manner of pushback from people who are like, I do this religiously with my clients and it gets really good results. So seed cycling is basically taking different seeds and eating them at different times of your cycle. So I can't remember, but it's pumpkin seeds for the first, 8 days, then sesame seeds, then whatever, flax. And yeah, seeds are brilliant. Obviously, we're always talking about eating more seeds. They have an enormous amount of fibre and goodness and vitamin E and all of this kind of, all the good stuff. But there is absolutely, I'm going to say there is absolutely no robust evidence behind seed cycling.
It sounds like a lot of headspace as well.
It's a lot.
To keep track of your cycle. Even if you can keep track of your cycle if you're perimenopausal.
Exactly. You don't know where you are most of the time.
Right. And
you're not having a cycle.
Maybe just have like a seed mix on your cereal.
Yeah, that would be
cover all bases.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is called seed cycling.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow. I'm trying to think of like the male bullshit version of that. Because it's probably there, isn't it? Something to do with...
I don't know if people want to take all your money as much as ours.
They
probably do.
Yeah.
But it tends to be a certain type of practitioner that pushes this as well. It's the same practitioner who will sell hormone balancing diet plans. Mm-hmm. It tends to be naturopaths. I'm just going to put it out there.
Yeah.
The non-evidence-based practitioners. There are some brilliant naturopaths, I'm sure, but yeah.
Greens powders?
Yeah, so this is something, people are like, do I need to take this really, really expensive greens powder that is always kind of a subscription-based marketing?
I mean, we can just say AG1. Yeah,
can we?
Greens. Yeah, I mean, it's insane how much money that costs for what it is. It is insane.
And it's pushed by huge accounts. Those podcasts.
Yeah, because the people who push that, if anyone doesn't know, if you become an affiliate with Athletic Greens and you push their product, for every subscription that signs up, you get a percentage of that payment forever. So these guys are making bank, like making a lot of money. They get thousands of people, they're getting thousands of payments from you. So of course it makes sense. And yes, is there probably some, if you're not eating any greens and then have some greens or through a shake, yes, but for like what, £100 a month? Jesus.
It's funny because it's the big podcast sort of health gurus. There's a certain doctor that swears that he takes it every day. It's like, seriously, no. Eat your greens.
Eat your greens, yeah, much better.
I don't believe there's any, I don't know about AG1, but I don't believe that they are tested necessarily. You don't really know what's in them. Whatever is in them is in very small amounts because there's, if you look on the back of the packet, there are a ton of different ingredients. They've been freeze-dried, I imagine, gone through like an enormous amount of processing. What is lost in that processing? Who knows? Don't know.
And actually, you're taking away all the other benefits of eating greens, which is your fibre that's going to nourish your gut microbiome, help your digestion, which is one of the reasons that you need to eat greens. It's not just for these micronutrients, it's like all of the whole package. I think that's the thing with a lot of these supplements. It's like taking one little bit of it out, when actually, if we just ate real food in a balanced way, our bodies would have what we need and we wouldn't need to do this pick and mix stuff.
Yeah, and also hyperfixating, like you say, on single ingredients, whereas it's what you do across the board most of the time that counts.
Last one. It's not a food per se, but it is banded around a lot in like the comment sections on social media or in forums, and that's intolerance testing.
Oh yeah, like IgG tests.
Yeah,
there was a very famous company that I think was taken to court because they basically were marketing it for reasons that they just couldn't back up. So I think there is now a kind of little asterisk which says, by the way, this doesn't actually help with... I think there's a lot of confusion between allergy testing and intolerance testing.
Yes.
And they're two very different things.
And I think, though, again, one of the symptoms at this time of life can be digestive issues, more constipation, or the other way, or, just changes to your bowels. And IBS is a thing that people get diagnosed with, and we know if you find out which foods are triggers for you, that can help. And I definitely fell into this trap, but it was probably about 12 years ago.
We'll let you off then.
And it was really useful in a way that it made me trial and error things. So I cut things out and I felt better, and then I tried having them back.
Oh, then I thought you meant you did an IgG test.
I know I did.
Okay.
And they gave me this list of like 20 things.
Well, essentially, it's just the things that you've eaten recently, right?
Right. So it was like eggs, dairy, and actually I now know like that I don't do well on those, but there was really random things like cod. Don't know why that's on there. All legumes.
It's all the good stuff as well, right?
And so for a while, I didn't eat any of those things. And I was like, this is really, really impossible to like eat well or go anywhere. It's like, let's try things. And through trial and error, I've found like the stuff that I can and I can't tolerate. But I'll still have them occasionally and accept, like we had a very garlicky meal last night. I am paying for it today.
Okay.
So I'm like, garlic is definitely up there for me. But I don't need a test to tell me that.
Yeah. And I think lots of women will kind of notice that their digestive system is more sluggish at this time, that maybe they don't tolerate foods as well. So yeah, there is this kind of real tendency to eliminate, reduce, take it all out. And then that just exacerbates your gut health issues potentially. So what I would tell people to do is to, particularly in the case of fibre, lots of people don't actually tolerate beans that well because they're not used to them. And it's just your gut microbiome, your gut bugs kind of, adjusting. And it is a slow process. You can't do it overnight. So we all say go low and go slow, right? So you just add it in really, really painfully, slowly, gradually. And your gut will adjust eventually.
And you can also, like, what I've found at least is one of the best ways to find an intolerance for a client is to do like an elimination diet, like the FODMAP diet. You do the FODMAP diet, you will quickly, if you do it properly, which is actually pretty
hard.
It's pretty difficult
hard
to do. It is. We've had a couple of clients that even that you've worked with, haven't you, Stacey? And it's like they've tried to do it on their own and just not being able to, but they've done it with a coach and then being able to go, oh, like this, and then now you've got this list of like, hey, like you just said, Stacey, like 5 foods that I can have them, but I know what I'm walking into instead of just the unknown.
Well, and taking them out, but then reintroducing them, then you do know, what you can tolerate and what you can't.
Yeah. And also finding, so I think what's missed in a lot of this kind of intolerance discussion is tolerance levels.
Yeah.
So I can have a little bit of garlic, but I had a whole bowl of garlic last night. And so it's finding your own personal threshold, because cutting anything out of your diet completely isn't great for your gut microbiome or the variety of vitamins and minerals and nutrients that you're getting.
I think this is why gluten gets really kind of demonized, because a lot of people are having toast, cereal in the morning, they're having a sandwich for lunch, and then, maybe having a pizza or lasagna for dinner.
Pasta.
And it's like, it's just an overload. It's not the gluten, it's the fact they're not really including anything else.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, we had another guest on who was talking about this, like 30 plants over the course of the week. And it is a big number and it can feel overwhelming. But I think just that concept of variety is a big thing that can be helpful as well.
Which is why it's worth buying mixed beans or a bag of mixed seeds, for example, mixed berries. It kind of gets, you can quickly get to that.
It's like 30, a cheat code. Oh, I like it.
Quite easily.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, so those are the things that are a bit BS. Some of the things that are more in the grey area, which I wanted to discuss, was the supplements that are like suggested for peri and menopausal women that have got some research behind them, but people might be thinking, are these the bad guys or the good guys? So I'm talking the things like evening primrose oil or black cohosh, or like the things that are very kind of cult classics.
Yeah, it's a good question. So evening primrose oil actually is recommended by the NHS for things like breast pain, which lots of women will complain about at this time. So it might be something to think about. But, obviously we have to caveat it with check with your GP before starting any of these. And I'm sure you've said that a million times before, but it is worth pointing out. Because particularly for things like black cohosh, which is a herbal supplement, they can, contraindicate. Herbs are potent potentially, and they can contraindicate with medication. So it is really important to talk to even a pharmacist. It is a really good source of knowledge actually for this kind of thing. But yeah, black cohosh, I don't think there's a huge amount of robust evidence, but anecdotally some women will find that it helps. There is a big placebo component in the menopause, across all ages. But in the menopause, I think it's something between 30 and 40%, which is not a bad thing necessarily. But I think a lot of people will, report back that they've taken this supplement. It's changed their lives. They're then kind of talking about it nonstop. Whereas actually, it's just sometimes about the fact that they're doing something for themselves.
Taking back control of it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you can see why, because they're not getting the support necessarily from the medical profession that they need. Lots of women find that they're being gaslit at this time. They're just being told to kind of suck it up, that it's normal, it's just your hormones, it's just what women go through. So they are very vulnerable.
Yeah.
So I don't, I'm not critical of women who want to try all of these different things. I just think we need to be really quite quite targeted about it. Give your head a wobble if you are following somebody who is saying something that is just sounds too good to be true.
Yeah, it often is.
Yeah. One that I think can, again, it's like one of those grey areas. It can sound like that. It's phytoestrogens. Sounds a bit woo woo.
Yeah.
What's the actual lowdown?
Yeah, so I wrote about this in my book, actually. So it is, according to the research that I was at that time, now things may have changed subsequently, but in that research, 50% of women who ate phytoestrogen-rich foods found that they helped with the severity and the frequency of hot flushes, particularly. 50% found that it made no difference whatsoever. So I think, phytoestrogenic foods, so things like soy-based products, but also things like legumes, so particularly flax seeds, they're high in phytoestrogens. It's very highly unlikely that they're going to be detrimental in any way. So it is definitely something I think worth trialling. In the studies, I think they were taken for something like 3 months. So again, it's not an overnight fix. And they provide all sorts of brilliant benefits, protein, a plant-based protein if people are trying to kind of minimize their animal protein. They have been shown, particularly soy-based products have been shown to help reduce cholesterol. There's lots of fiber, there's lots of micronutrients in there. So I think, phytoestrogens would get a definite kind of tick from me. What I would say, though, is to avoid isoflavone supplements particularly if you have, at the moment, they are not recommended for people who've had a breast cancer diagnosis. But that's because they're really, really concentrated. And I also think probably it's because the research hasn't been done, because it's just, it's not ethical to do that research.
Yes.
Yeah.